Have you ever walked away from a conversation only to replay it endlessly in your mind, wishing you had said something different? Have you ever let a cruel comment or toxic action echo so loudly in your head that you struggle to fall asleep at night? If so, you're not alone. Every one of us has faced this, because no matter where you are in life, no matter how kind or patient you try to be, there are people who will say or do things that sting. They'll test your patience, challenge your confidence, and sometimes even shake your sense of worth. But here's what most of us forget in those moments: we don't have to give them power. We don't have to hand over our peace of mind. Hurtful people exist, but so does your ability to rise above them. And today, I want to share with you 3 deeply important ways to handle hurtful people, approaches that can protect your energy, reinforce your boundaries, and allow you to walk away with dignity no matter what was thrown at you. Picture this for a moment. You're in the middle of a conversation, maybe with friends, coworkers, or even family. Out of nowhere, someone throws a jab. It might be sarcasm dressed up as humor. It might be a cutting insult wrapped in a smile. Or it might just be a tone of voice so dismissive it feels like a knife to the chest. Immediately, your instincts kick in. Your body tenses, your chest tightens, your heart starts to pound, and in your mind, a flood of words appear all at once. You want to defend yourself, you want to fire back, you want them to feel the sting they just caused you. That urge to react is human. It's survival mode. It's your brain registering an attack and wanting to fight. But here's the trap: the moment you snap back, the moment you give in and lash out, you hand them the very power they were hoping to take from you. Because hurtful people thrive on reaction. They want you flustered, rattled, angry. They want to see you pulled into their storm. And the second you give them that, they win control, not just of the moment, but of your inner state. The most powerful shift you can make when dealing with hurtful people is realizing that you always have a choice. You can't stop their words, but you can choose what comes next. Reaction is immediate, emotional, and often regrettable. Response is different. Response is deliberate, calm, thoughtful. It's the pause that allows you to ask, do I want to give this person my energy? Do I want to fight on their level? Or do I want to hold my ground with peace? Think about the last time you reacted too quickly. Maybe you raised your voice. Maybe you said something that replayed in your mind all day. Maybe you left feeling worse, not better. That's because reaction usually leads to regret. It comes from emotion, not clarity. But when you take a breath, let the wave of anger pass, and hold back before speaking, you step into a different kind of strength. That pause isn't weakness, it's power. It's the space where you remind yourself, I don't need to let them control me. Hurtful people throw sparks, hoping you'll turn them into flames. They toss negativity your way like kindling, waiting for you to light it up with your reaction. But when you stay calm, when you refuse to add fuel, the spark fizzles out, their grip loosens, and suddenly, it's not their cruelty that dominates the moment, it's your composure. There's a quiet kind of dignity in refusing to play their game. And here's the truth: responding with strength doesn't always mean you have the sharpest comeback. More often than not, it means you don't offer one at all. Sometimes silence is the most powerful response. Sometimes a calm tone is enough. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, I hear you, and walking away. The point is that you are choosing your response, not because you're afraid, not because you don't have words, but because you've decided your peace matters more than a pointless argument. Think about the psychology of power. When someone insults you, what they're often doing is projecting. They're taking their own insecurity, their own inner turmoil, and flinging it outward. Their goal, to drag you down to their level. If you explode in anger, you've played right into their plan. But if you stay calm or disengage entirely, you send a message. That message is not for them, it's for you. It's a reminder, you don't control me. Here's a practical tool you can use: the power of the pause. Next time someone says something cutting, resist the urge to answer immediately. Instead, count to 3 in your head. Take a slow breath in, then exhale. In those few seconds, you create space. And in that space, you gain clarity. You can ask yourself, do I want to defend myself or rise above? Do I want to match their negativity or show that I'm not so easily shaken? Your response might be something short, like, I disagree. It might be, I'm not going to continue this conversation. Or it might be silence paired with walking away. People underestimate how much strength silence holds. But silence is never passive, it's active, it's a decision, it's you refusing to dance to the tune they're playing. Now, reacting does feel good in the moment, doesn't it? It feels like release. But here's the catch: it almost never feels good later. How many times have you gone home after an argument, replayed every word, and felt drained, maybe even ashamed? That's because reaction offers temporary satisfaction with a long-term cost. A measured response, on the other hand, brings empowerment in the moment and afterward. You walk away knowing you didn't let them drag you down. You stayed centered. You kept your dignity. Responding doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. You don't have to pretend it didn't hurt. You don't have to plaster on a smile. Feel the emotion. Acknowledge it, but don't let it drive your actions. There's a huge difference between experiencing anger and being consumed by it. When you recognize that difference, you free yourself. Imagine someone hurling mud at you. If you throw mud back, now you're both dirty. But if you step aside, let it fall, and keep walking clean, you've preserved your integrity. That's response. That's choosing not to wallow in the mud with them. Think of the people you admire, leaders, mentors, role models. Rarely are they the ones who blow up when challenged. They're the ones who remain steady, who don't lose themselves in the heat of conflict. That calmness is magnetic. It commands respect, and you can develop it too. Every time you choose response over reaction, you strengthen that muscle. Each encounter with a hurtful person becomes less about them and more about how much control you have over yourself. Because the truth is, control over others is a myth. The only true control you'll ever have is over you. And once you claim that, no insult, no negativity, no toxic person can shake your foundation. That's the first piece. Respond, don't react. Now let's go deeper. Boundaries. Such a misunderstood word. Many people hear it and instantly imagine coldness, rejection, or distance. They think of walls, of shutting people out. But boundaries aren't walls. They're doors with locks. They're guidelines that protect your peace, your energy, your time. They're the invisible lines that say, this is what's okay with me, and this is what's not. Without boundaries, you invite chaos. You let people drain you, manipulate you, disrespect you. And eventually, you lose pieces of yourself in the process. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you'll ever practice. So many of us were raised to think the opposite. We were taught to tolerate bad behavior, to put other people's comfort above our own, to say yes when we wanted to say no, to excuse cruelty as just the way they are. But tolerating disrespect is not kindness. It's neglect of yourself. And the cure for neglect is boundaries. Boundaries take courage. They require you to be clear about what you will and won't accept. It might start small. Maybe you decide you won't answer calls late at night. Maybe you step away from gossip. Maybe you refuse to stay in conversations that feel manipulative or cruel. But boundaries also go bigger. They mean recognizing when certain relationships are toxic and choosing to step back. They mean remembering that your energy is not infinite and that protecting it is a necessity, not a luxury. People often think boundaries hurt relationships, but it's the opposite. Boundaries protect them. They prevent resentment from building. They make expectations clear. With boundaries, people know where they stand. Without them, relationships get messy. One person takes too much, the other feels drained, and both sides suffer. But boundaries only work when they're consistent. It's not enough to set one and then ignore it. If someone crosses the line and nothing happens, you've silently told them it's okay. Consistency sends the message that your limits matter. And enforcing boundaries doesn't require yelling or harshness. It requires clarity. Something as simple as, I'm not comfortable with this, or I won't continue this discussion is powerful. Boundaries also require self-awareness. You need to know your triggers, your limits, your needs. What drains you? What behaviors cross the line for you? What does respect look like to you? Once you have clarity, setting boundaries feels natural, not forced. Picture it like a bubble around you. Inside the bubble are your values, your time, your peace. You decide who enters that bubble and under what terms. People who respect your boundaries stay inside peacefully. People who don't bounce off the surface. That's how you maintain control of your mental and emotional health. Boundaries free you up to focus on people who uplift you. When you stop pouring energy into those who hurt or drain you, you make space for relationships that inspire and nurture you. It's not selfish, it's selective, and that selectiveness allows you to grow. Of course, setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable, especially if you've always been the one to say yes, to tolerate, to overextend. People who are used to crossing your lines won't like it at first. You may even feel guilt, but guilt fades. The peace you gain from protecting yourself lasts. Boundaries aren't just guidelines. They're armor. They shield you from unnecessary pain. They preserve your energy. They remind you that your time and emotions matter. And here's another truth about boundaries. They teach accountability. When you clearly communicate your limits, others know what's expected. If they choose to ignore it, that's on them. Their behavior reflects their choices, not your worth. Boundaries make it easier to let go of guilt because you've done your part. In essence, boundaries declare your worth. They say, this is acceptable. This is not. And I won't apologize for knowing the difference. Now let's go to the third piece, not internalizing negativity. When someone insults you, rejects you, or lashes out, it's tempting to believe it defines you. Their words feel like a mirror. But here's the truth, hurt people hurt people. Their cruelty is a reflection of their own pain, not a measure of your value. Once you understand that, everything changes. Because you stop carrying their baggage as your own. You stop letting their pain seep into your sense of self. Every insult, every cruel action, they're not about you. They're about them. Their insecurities, their fears, their disappointments. That doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does reframe it. It lets you see it without absorbing it. Their words might reach your ears, but they don't have to reach your heart. This distinction matters. When you internalize hurt, it distorts your reality. You start doubting yourself, you question your choices, you shrink to avoid conflict. And over time, your confidence erodes. But when you recognize that their negativity belongs to them, not you, you build an invisible shield. Their words bounce off. You stay intact. Think of it like emotional ownership. You own your emotions. They own theirs. If someone lashes out, that's their responsibility. You're only responsible for how you respond. If you take on their negativity, you're carrying weight that was never yours to hold. Reframing helps. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, what does this reveal about them? What can I learn about myself, about my boundaries? Hurtful behavior then becomes a lesson instead of a verdict. It shifts you from victim to student, from powerless to empowered. Detachment is key here too. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you protect your emotional space. You engage without being consumed. You observe without absorbing. You keep clarity. With detachment, you can respond instead of being dragged under. Forgiveness also plays a role, but not in the way people think. Forgiveness isn't about excusing, it's about releasing, because holding on a hurt chains you to the past. Forgiveness cuts that chain. It frees you to move forward. And don't underestimate the role of resilience. The stronger your sense of self, the less their words stick. Build resilience by reminding yourself of your worth, by surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, by practicing habits that ground you, journaling, movement, meditation, reflection. The more anchored you are, the less power their negativity holds. At the end of the day, every encounter with hurtful people is an opportunity to reclaim your power. And you do it by responding, not reacting, by setting and holding your boundaries, and by refusing to internalize what was never yours. Because no matter what someone throws your way, you are the one who decides what stays. You are the one who chooses whether to carry their cruelty or let it fall to the ground. And when you choose peace, when you choose dignity, when you choose to protect your worth, no hurtful person can touch your foundation. You rise above, you walk away clean. You stay untouchable. Perspective allows you to see more clearly whether someone's words are an actual reflection of truth or merely a projection of their inner battles. When you practice this consistently, you begin to develop a mental filter that naturally screens out unnecessary emotional poison and keeps your focus directed toward what truly matters in your life. Building resilience also means strengthening your own sense of identity and deep self-worth. When you feel solid in who you are and what you represent, external negativity begins to lose much of its power. This takes regular self-reflection, daily self-affirmation, and engaging in practices that continually reinforce your values and priorities. Writing in a journal, sitting in meditation, speaking affirmations aloud, or even taking time to look back at your own achievements and the lessons you have carried forward can build a foundation that grows stronger over time. The stronger this inner foundation becomes, the harder it is for outside cruelty or criticism to shake you. You come to understand that your worth is inherent, not given or taken by the approval or disapproval of other people. Resilience is also about creating and protecting emotional boundaries. Just as physical boundaries shield your body from injury, emotional boundaries shield your mind and heart from negativity. These boundaries can appear subtle, like mentally stepping away from someone's cruel remark, or they can be more obvious, such as intentionally limiting time spent with toxic individuals. Emotional boundaries give you the ability to decide what you allow to enter and what you choose to release. They are a daily practice in discernment, training you to interact with others without handing away your inner energy or control. Cultivating resilience has to be practiced in real time. Each encounter with a hurtful person is an opportunity to test and strengthen your emotional muscles rather than give in to quick, reactive impulses. When negativity arises, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does engaging here serve me or harm me? These tiny moments of conscious decision making accumulate over weeks and years, building new neural pathways tied to calm, thoughtful, and empowering responses. With steady practice, resilience stops being something you force and starts becoming a natural habit. Resilience also demands emotional agility, the skill of experiencing difficult feelings without becoming consumed or defined by them. Hurt, anger, sadness, or disappointment are normal human responses, yet resilient people do not allow these emotions to dictate their entire behavior. Instead, they acknowledge their feelings, process them, and then let them move on rather than clinging to them as permanent truths. This agility lets you remain composed and strategic even in the middle of provocation. Emotional discomfort then transforms into fuel for growth instead of a weapon used against your inner peace. An essential element of resilience is learning how to reframe adversity. Rather than seeing hurtful interactions as failures or personal attacks, resilient people view them as lessons and opportunities for growth. Each difficult encounter becomes a teacher of patience, empathy, clear communication, or stronger assertiveness. By reframing moments like this, you shift from victimhood into empowerment. You transform experiences that could drain you into experiences that actually strengthen you, giving you more confidence to navigate life with steadiness. Support networks also play a major role in reinforcing resilience. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift, encourage, and validate your worth strengthens your ability to withstand negativity. Mentors, close friends, and supportive groups act as mirrors that reflect your value and remind you of your strength when you begin to doubt yourself. They provide reinforcement exactly when outside negativity threatens to weaken your confidence. While resilience is something built internally, the presence of a supportive circle accelerates and deepens the process. True resilience is closely tied to self-compassion. Many people struggle deeply with hurtful words because they judge themselves harshly for being affected at all. They scold themselves for feeling anger, shame, or disappointment. But resilient people practice self-compassion instead. They acknowledge that it is natural to feel pain. They allow themselves to sit with those feelings, and then they choose carefully how to respond. Self-compassion softens the impact of hurt while also reinforcing the boundaries and strategies that protect your peace over the long run. When you truly cultivate resilience, it changes the way you move through the world. Hurtful individuals no longer dominate your emotional landscape. Their actions and words stop being triggers for chaos, insecurity, or endless doubt. Instead, you deal with them from a place of awareness, clarity, and quiet strength. You learn to face challenges with strategy, responding in ways that preserve your inner calm and protect your dignity. Resilience shifts you from being a passive target of negativity into being the active guardian of your own emotional well-being. That shift allows you not just to survive, but to thrive in spite of whatever storms happen outside of you. Another essential piece in dealing with hurtful people is learning to master the art of choosing your battles. Not every insult, jab, or negative encounter deserves your attention, your effort, or your response. If you fail to discern which situations actually merit engagement, you risk draining yourself in endless conflicts that feed nothing but another person's ego or their agenda. Choosing battles wisely is not avoidance, and it is not weakness. It is about strategy, intelligent energy management, and emotional maturity. It begins with the awareness that your time, your focus, and your clarity are precious and limited, and they should not be wasted on matters that yield no benefit or resolution. At the heart of this idea is the truth that engagement is always optional. Just because someone is cruel does not mean you are obligated to respond. Many people automatically fall into reaction because it feels instinctual. We think, I must defend myself, or I cannot let them get away with that. While these reactions bring a moment of satisfaction, they come at the cost of your long-term peace. Choosing battles wisely means realizing that your peace holds far more value than the fleeting rush of defending yourself in every moment. So instead of reacting on impulse, you pause and ask, is this truly worth the emotional toll? Will any response I give lead to resolution, or will it simply escalate the tension? Developing this discernment requires reflection and self-awareness. You start by noticing patterns. Which encounters always leave you exhausted and frustrated? Which ones actually create understanding or a productive outcome? By studying these patterns, you learn where your energy is truly worth spending. Over time, this helps you filter situations in advance, saving your energy for the interactions that can actually make a difference. Another part of wisely choosing battles is aligning each decision with your values. Every choice to engage or disengage should line up with your principles and your long-term goals. If stepping into a conflict protects a boundary, defends your integrity, or shields someone vulnerable, then it may be worth it. If not, walking away is often the smarter choice. This ensures your energy is directed toward meaningful outcomes, not wasted in reactive arguments. Detachment is a powerful ally in this process. Detachment does not mean you stop caring, nor does it mean apathy. It means observing situations with clear eyes, free of automatic emotional charge, so you can measure their true impact. For example, a cruel comment at work may sting in the moment, but stepping back, you might see that it reflects that person's stress, not your value or competence. This clarity gives you freedom. You can choose to respond calmly, ignore it entirely, or address it later on your own terms without losing your stability. Part of choosing battles is also recognizing the limits of your influence. You cannot change everyone. Some individuals will simply never respect boundaries or values. Accepting this limitation can be liberating because it removes the pressure to fix or control other people. It shifts your focus back to what is within your power, which is always your own reactions, decisions, and growth. When you make peace with the fact that you cannot control others, you naturally become more selective and more purposeful in your engagements. You begin to prioritize your own well-being. Constantly engaging with negative people erodes your resilience and eats away at your self-esteem. By reserving your energy, you protect yourself from unnecessary anxiety, stress, and resentment. This prioritization is a deep act of self-respect, reminding yourself that your energy is precious and must be spent with intention. One useful way to practice is to create a mental hierarchy of situations by their importance and impact. Ask yourself, does this truly matter in the larger picture? Will this affect my life in a meaningful way? Does addressing it align with my values and goals? If the answer is no, it is usually better to disengage. If the answer is yes, then you can step forward with intention and a clear plan for constructive engagement. Another practical method is to prepare preset responses for the types of hurtful comments or situations you frequently encounter. By having phrases ready, you reduce the risk of losing your composure in the heat of the moment. Simple statements like, "I'm not going to discuss this right now," or "I hear what you're saying, but I'm not engaging in this," create a framework that protects your peace while keeping control in your hands. Reflection after the fact also matters. Not every interaction will go the way you hoped. Some will still leave you unsettled. Taking time afterward to review your choices allows you to learn. Ask yourself, was that necessary? Did it serve my values? Could I have done something different to protect my peace better? Each reflection sharpens your judgment for the next time. Importantly, choosing battles wisely does not mean ignoring responsibility or refusing to face legitimate issues. It means engaging strategically and intentionally instead of reacting blindly. There is a clear difference between letting go of petty provocations and neglecting serious matters. When you choose your battles wisely, you ensure that when you do respond, your actions are meaningful, deliberate, and effective. Mastering this skill is a lifelong practice, and each careful choice compounds over time. Every time you choose to engage thoughtfully or disengage strategically, you reinforce your emotional strength. Over the years, this approach becomes second nature. You naturally invest your energy only in what matters, leaving little space for unnecessary negativity to drain you. The final and perhaps most powerful key to dealing with hurtful people is taking complete ownership of your emotional power. This means accepting the reality that no one can make you feel a certain way without your permission. External events, words, or behaviors may provoke, but the ultimate responsibility for your interpretation and response always rests with you. Owning your emotional power means refusing to hand the reins of your inner state to anyone else. It is the recognition that while you cannot control the actions of others, you always control how you process them and how you respond. This shift is profound because it moves you from being a passive target in life to being the deliberate architect of your own emotional world. Many people unknowingly give away this power. They replay insults, dwell on slights, and let the words of others dictate their mood for hours or days. This is surrendering your power. Every time you allow someone's negativity to dominate your thoughts, you relinquish control of your inner peace. By choosing ownership, you reclaim that control. You decide what enters, what stays, and what gets released. Ownership begins with awareness. You must notice when you are being triggered and identify the exact cause. Often we confuse our emotional reaction to someone's words with the actual meaning of those words. We interpret things personally when they were never personal to begin with, and in that confusion, we give others control of our inner state. By pausing and observing objectively, you carve out space to choose instead of react. Once you recognize that your feelings are your responsibility, you can regulate them intentionally. Emotional regulation is about responding with thought instead of impulse. Practices like deep breathing, journaling, quiet reflection, or mentally reframing the situation help redirect your energy in constructive ways. For example, when someone criticizes you unfairly, instead of spiraling into anger or self-doubt, you remind yourself that their comment reflects their perspective, not your worth. Owning your power also changes how you relate to difficult people. You don't have to cut them off completely, but you decide how much access and influence they have. You set the limits of engagement, determine the tone of interaction, and choose when to disengage. This creates agency, reminding you that you control your energy, not them. Another part of ownership is separating fact from interpretation. Much of the sting from cruelty comes not from the act itself, but from the meaning we attach to it. By questioning your interpretations and stripping away assumptions, you reduce the emotional charge and protect your inner steadiness. The voice in your head, your self-talk, is one of the most powerful tools for maintaining ownership. The story you tell yourself about what just happened shapes how you feel. By reframing that story, you take control. Instead of thinking, "They said this because I'm not good enough," you reframe it as, "Their behavior is about their struggle, not my worth." That shift alone can protect your peace. Ownership also means taking responsibility for recovery. No one else can heal your feelings or restore your balance. That task is yours alone. Through self-care, reflection, or leaning on supportive relationships, you consciously reclaim your emotional territory after being hurt. Recovery is not passive, it is an empowered act. Boundaries are the external expression of this ownership. They clearly communicate what you will and won't accept. When someone crosses a line, you can calmly address it, disengage, or reinforce your stance. Each of those decisions builds your sense of control. Consistency is crucial here. Ownership is not a one-time event, but a daily practice. Each time you interact with negativity, you reaffirm that your emotions are not open to manipulation. Over time, both you and others learn that your peace is not negotiable. Finally, ownership requires accepting your full range of emotions without shame. Feeling anger or hurt does not mean you are weak. Denying them doesn't erase them either. Instead, acknowledge them and then decide how to act. This is not suppression, it is mastery. Owning your emotional power allows you to redefine what success means in relationships and conflicts. Success is no longer about winning arguments or changing someone else. Success becomes remaining steady, grounded, and true to your values no matter what. The ultimate proof of mastery is realizing that your peace belongs to you and you alone. When you consistently practice this, you become nearly untouchable. Negative people may still speak, but their words no longer penetrate. Their actions no longer shape your self-image or shake your confidence. Instead, you walk with an inner authority that protects your energy and magnifies your resilience. Remember this truth: hurtful people will always exist. There will always be situations that challenge your patience, test your confidence, and push at your boundaries. But you carry the tools to rise above. You have the ability to respond instead of react, to draw clear boundaries, to avoid internalizing their poison, to cultivate resilience, to choose your battles wisely, and to own your emotional